We're going to talk about the scientific method. What is the scientific method? How does it work? What are the different aspects of the scientific method? In science, there are, let's say, three fundamental things. You have a hypothesis, you have a theory, and you have a law, you have a scientific fact. These are different things. They're not all the same thing. I'm sure you guys know, and whoever is in the live, if you have some background in physics, you understand these terms. In the scientific method, there are some terms and some fundamentals. You have, like I said, a hypothesis, you have a theory, you have a law, and you have a scientific fact, let's say, just a fact. Yeah, I'm going to explain the law by giving an example because it's the easiest one, okay? Law is something you cannot explain. You can't explain it. You don't know why it happens. It doesn't answer the question why. I'll give you an example. The law of thermodynamics. For example, heat disperses. The way it moves, heat, the way it moves, it disperses. Why does it disperse? Nobody knows. This is the nature of heat. Heat just disperses. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about hypothesis. What is a hypothesis? A hypothesis is basically an explanation or a scientific guess. It's like a guess. You're guessing something. But what does it describe? It describes a relationship between a cause and an effect. Okay, but a hypothesis is different from a theory. They're not the same thing. So a hypothesis is just a description about the relationship between a cause and effect. How does a hypothesis become a theory? So the way the hypothesis can be translated into a theory or becomes a theory is by experimentation. The predictions of a hypothesis have to conform with the experiment, the scientific experiment. If a hypothesis does not conform with the experiment, you don't have science, you don't have anything. So like I said, first we have to apply the experimentation to our hypothesis, and then we see, does it confirm with our prediction or not? Now, in a scientific experiment, what is an experiment? What is a scientific experiment? We don't just do anything and we call it experiment. In an experiment, there are specific characteristics of a scientific experiment. The scientific experiment must have three main variables. So when I said, what is an experiment? What is this experiment? The experiment has to have three variables, right? In any scientific experiment, it must have three variables: your independent variable, your dependent variable, and your controlled variable. Now, each of these variables, they have characteristics. Remember I said in a hypothesis, it explains the relationship between the cause and the effect? Remember I said this? Your independent variable is your cause. Your dependent variable is the effect. So the cause and the effect, remember, because in your hypothesis, we said your hypothesis is a prediction, and it explains the relationship between the cause and the effect. Now, when we translate this into an experimentation, we want to do an experimentation to confirm this. You have these two main variables. The third variable, the controlled variable, I will not talk about it. We'll talk about it later, no problem. But the main two variables is your independent and your dependent variable. Your independent is the cause, your dependent is the effect, okay? So these two variables, they have characteristics. The independent variable, for it to be an independent variable in your scientific experiment, it must be able to be manipulated, varied, and isolated. And the dependent variable is just the effect. It's actually the result. I'm going to give an example to make it easy for everyone to understand this. It's very easy. You know diabetes. Diabetes is a sickness, it's a type of disease, diabetes. So let's say we want to do an experiment. And in this experiment, we say, first we come with our hypothesis. Let's say the following is my hypothesis. The lack of insulin causes diabetes. So in this hypothesis, insulin is my independent variable, and the result is people getting sick. They get diabetes. So insulin is the independent variable. It is manipulated. I can manipulate it, I can vary it, and I can isolate it. So now these three characteristics of my independent variable, I can do it with insulin. I can do it with, and also remember, the independent variable, it's the presumed cause, but it's not a presumption in itself. It's not an imagination. Independent variable is not something I imagine. It has to be real, something that I can manipulate, something I can vary, something I can isolate. So now we understand what is an experiment in science, what it means to have an experiment, a scientific experiment. Because guys, remember, These are the fundamentals of scientific method. This is how it works. Anything else? Richard Feynman, he said this. Max Planck, he said this. He said experiment is the only means of knowledge at our disposal. Without experiment, everything else is poetry. Poetry. If it doesn't agree with experiment, it's wrong. The fundamentals of the scientific method. Now, at least we have some understanding of the scientific method, okay? Now, we have to apply this to everything in science today. Everything that they tell us, this is a theory. Okay, before, tell me the hypothesis. Tell me what are your independent and dependent variables. And if you can't apply the characteristics of the independent variable to that independent variable that you're talking about, then this is not science. And the example I was saying, when you ask people, what causes something to fall down? What causes an object to fall down? They tell you the cause is gravity. Can we manipulate it? Can we vary it? Can we isolate it? You can't, you don't have science. Some people say, no, it's because of the sun or the moon or the earth or Mars. Can you isolate any of these? Can you manipulate any of these? Can you vary any of these? You can't. Where is the science? Today, you know how many theory of gravity we have? We have 18 theories of gravity today. 18 theory of gravity. Why? Why do we have 18 theories of gravity? Why? Why we have so many theories of the beginning of this universe? You know, they talk about Big Bang, steady state. They talk so many. There's like 8 different theories about how this universe started, how everything came to being. Okay, so there's even more proof of this. Today, the scientific community itself, they are having many problems. They're fighting with each other. All these scientists, they have different of opinion on many things. So there's a professor. Her name is Sabine Hossenfelder. She's German. Sabine Hossenfelder. She has a video on YouTube. I recommend you guys to watch it. The title of the video is "Why I Lost Trust in Scientists Today." So I'm going to show everybody the different theories of gravity. This is really quick. We have Newton's law. We have general relativity, Einstein. We have quantum gravity. We have Brans-Dicke theory. This is also related to gravity. Modified Newtonian dynamics. This is another. FR gravity. Tevis gravity. This is another one. Tensor, vector, scalar gravity. We have Einstein's Cartan theory. Another one. We have Kaluza-Klein theory. There are many theories of gravity. You know what I mean? People think there's maybe two theories or 3 theories. No, there's many theories of gravity. Similarly, there's so many theories of the beginning of this universe or creation or whatever they call it. I don't know, the Big Bang and all of this stuff. So the point is, guys, at the end of the day, you have a brain. If Allah gave you this brain to think, you need to be able to go and verify this information for yourself. Go find out what is in their different experiments, in their different theories. How did this become a theory? What is the original hypothesis? You know what? I had a discussion with one of my physics professors. I said, look, if we apply the scientific method to the letter, you have to apply it fully, the scientific method with everything to gravity. Will gravity be a theory? He said never. It will never be a theory. It will always remain a hypothesis forever, because it does not conform with the scientific method fully. Look, you can go check this for yourself, this information. You go check this for yourself. I'm not bringing, I can bring you, hopefully in the future, I'm going to bring all my books and all my sources and what the physicists say, what the different physicists say. Yahi, there are physicists today, theoretical physicists. They say gravity doesn't exist. Jana Levine says gravity doesn't exist. Maggie Liu says gravity doesn't exist. Eric Lerner says gravity doesn't exist. These are all physicists. These are people who have studied this. Ask anyone, what is gravity? And if they have an answer for you, tell them you're lying. Because scientists today, until this day, all scientists, they tell you we do not know what gravity is. The biggest physicist today alive is David Gross. So I'm going to play a video right now for David Gross. This is one of the biggest physicists today.
What is gravity?
Stunned silence. Any order? No, just jump in, please.
I wish we really know. I wish we really know. I wish we really know.
I wish we really knew.
So, I mean, we can certainly, it's easy enough to describe properties of gravity. It's easy enough to describe theories of gravity. We've had two marvelous theories. But what is, for somebody like me, raises the question marks and not the answers that we already know.
He says, when somebody asks me what is gravity, I get question marks, not answers. I don't have answers for this. Guys, you can watch this video on your own time. The video is called What is Gravity, David Gross. You can watch it later on and see the whole video. Gravity is not a law. Gravity is a theory. You can say whatever you want to say, but you have to go to the scientific community and you have to convince them that gravity is a law. Look, I don't deny that objects, they fall to the ground. This is the phenomena. This is what we observe. We see something falling. What is the cause? If you tell me gravity, you have to prove it. Do you know who this is? This is Alfred Wegener. Alfred Wegener is one of the biggest geophysicists in the world. Theories are not described as true or right. They're not law, they're not fact. Theory, what it does, it's the best supported explanation. That's the only thing theory does. So I'm getting many questions. So some people laugh. They say, so you're saying gravity doesn't do this, doesn't do that? Bro, gravity is something you imagined. Look, objects fall to the ground. This is something we observe. This is the observation. This is correct observation. Why it happens, no one knows until this day. They came with an imaginary concept. They called it gravity. There's no experiment to prove this so-called gravity. You can't isolate it. You can't manipulate it. You can't vary it. And if you can't do this, you don't have science. This is not called science. This is called poetry.
Justement, ce que j'allais vous dire, la famille, c'est que, en fait, la différence entre une théorie et une loi, c'est qu'une théorie, elle peut être tombée par une autre théorie. Ça veut dire que la théorie, aujourd'hui, on dit que c'est une théorie, par exemple, celle de la gravité. Aujourd'hui, on va la prendre, entre guillemets, comme une loi, parce qu'aujourd'hui, on n'a pas de meilleure théorie qui est capable de venir la faire chuter. D'accord? Ça, c'est le principe de la théorie. La loi, contrairement à la théorie, la loi ne peut être tombée par aucune autre loi, parce que c'est une loi, elle est invariable. Et vous ne pourrez jamais la faire tomber et la remplacer par une autre loi, parce que c'est une loi. Mais la théorie, c'est très différent. Aujourd'hui, ce qu'on appelle une théorie scientifique, et je vais terminer par là, ce qu'on appelle une théorie scientifique, c'est la seule capable d'expliquer de la meilleure manière un phénomène observable, d'accord? Et par contre, comme je vous explique, si vous avez une théorie plus tard qui vient, qui est meilleure et qui explique mieux le phénomène que la théorie, ça sera remplacé par cette nouvelle théorie. Et donc aujourd'hui, ce n'est pas une loi, c'est toujours une théorie.